stepping inside the principal's office, building community with the right synergy. Stepping.
A lot of times this topic comes up with leaders. It's either met with
it's a safe place to be. Well, leaders can be free. Come learn new lessons.
gap is closing.
Feel free to ask a question. Inside the principal's office.
I mean, are you guys principals or middle school students?
Inside the principal's office.
Oh, hey, how's everybody this morning? We are so excited to be back in this space with all of you. My name is Michael McWilliams. All of my friends call me Mac, and I am one half of the team here at Inside the Principal's Office, where we endeavor to create a safe space for school leaders and aspiring leaders to learn and grow together. Again, my name is Mac. I am a career principal, spending 20 years in the elementary principal seat, and now I get a wonderful opportunity to do consulting work for Solution Tree, and I travel the country teaching and coaching principals and staff members. But one of my favorite things to do is to be here in this space with my co-host, Charles, all the way from Chicago, Illinois. How's it going, Charles?
Man,
In charge.
things are going well, Mac. Honored that I get to call you Mac as one of your friends here. Things are going very well. Looking forward to having this conversation as we close out, this school year. At the beginning of this school year, we talked about all of the shifts and transitions, as you moved into your role with Solution Tree, as I moved into a whole nother school with a new district. It was just a phenomenal opportunity for transition and change. And now we get to reflect on that, which is what we talk about. So thank you. As Max said, my name is Charles Williams. I am a CPS administrator, serving as an assistant principal at Michele Clark. I'm also the host of the Counter Narrative podcast and the founder of CW Consulting. But one of my favorite places to be is right here on the show with my good friend Mac, but not just Mac, because we get to connect with world leaders in education who are doing phenomenal work in their spaces. And so this morning, I get to reconnect with a good friend of mine from right here in Illinois, Jeff Prickett, Dr. Jeff Prickett, an amazing author, speaker, and school leader, and Rebecca, who is joining us from halfway around the world, who is actually one of the reasons why we have received so many of our world guests, as she has helped to direct them to us. And now she is joining us as we close out this year. Rebecca, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us.
So before we jump in, would you mind just sharing a little bit about who you are, your role in education? So Rebecca, I'll let you lead things off.
Sure. My name is Rebecca Findlay, and I'm the head of primary in the international school at ParkCity, which is in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And I've been a school leader for 15 years now, both in the UK, in the Netherlands, and now in Malaysia, of course. And I love my job. And there was no other career that I think I would have ever dreamed of having. And long may this continue. And I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you and share my learning.
Well, thank you for being in this space. And I will try to make the fact that, that you served in the Netherlands nothing, considering that USA is playing the Netherlands today.
Oh, go the Oranjes.
Jeff.
That's great. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on this morning. Jeff Prickett, principal McHenry High School. We serve about 2,200 students, and we are one high school on two campuses. We have a freshman campus and then an upper campus. And I live here in town where I serve. And that's just a little bit about me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you guys for being here, and I am looking forward to learning with you today. We're talking about reflection today, and something that I say all the time is it is impossible to improve organizations or move your organization forward without reflection. We must be reflective practitioners. We work a while, assess a while, make an adjustment, and it's just a continuous cycle of looking at what you've done, what your practice is, and what can we now do to tweak our practice so that more kids can learn at high levels. So let's jump right in today to our discussion question numero uno.
Inside the principal's office, discussion question 1. Whether it be an epiphany about time management or a newfound understanding of a subject, each lesson learned is valuable and can be used as a tool for future success. What has been your biggest aha moment or lesson learned so far this school year?
Wow, I know that we've all learned so much this school year. Let's jump into this one. Jeff, what's your biggest aha this year?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think that when people are asked questions like this, especially this year or last year, we always base it in and reflect on compared to the last couple of years during the pandemic. And so I think it's hard not to, and I think it's important that we do that. I think that one of the biggest lessons for me is I think we're all hoping and just praying that this year would be different, that this year would be better, that it would feel more like school. And I think one of the biggest aha moments is that oh, wow, I've got to really get back to doing school stuff, like planning and talking about curriculum, talking about real school stuff and not mandates, and not whether we're going to be, in school or on Zoom. And I think that one of the biggest things that it taught me over the past couple of years was just how important communication is, right? I think that, we can talk about how important communication is, but really this year, I think that one of the big aha moments I took was from lessons from the pandemic. Like, we have to be much more intentional about our communication. More communication. I keep hearing this over and over again. More communication is better than not enough communication. Our people, when I say people, I mean teachers and students and parents, need to hear from us more often than not. We were sending communications to parents and to staff, and then I realized that, oh wow, we send it to those two groups, but we don't send the same messages to our students as well. Like, even if we think, you could say, oh well, they don't read their emails. I work with high school kids, so and yeah, you might be right, but a lot of them do read their emails, and a lot of them will respond to you, and a lot of them look forward to hearing from you, no matter what venue that is, whether it's email or whether you're creating videos and sending those out. Listen, I learned quickly over the last couple of years, especially with high school kids, that my kids are on Instagram and they're all going to follow me. And so I'm going to create content that I know that they're going to read if I post it on Instagram. I haven't stepped into TikTok yet or Snapchat, and I don't know if I will, but I'm not afraid to. I'm not afraid to, because I know that's where they're at. So again, going back to the big aha, find out where your people are at and realizing, oh wow, yeah, you need to be there too as a school leader.
And I've heard getting onto Dr. Prickett's coveted Instagram, that's a thing.
Absolutely. The hallway selfies that I take with kids, I had a parent jump on and make a comment on when one of her kids got we got a selfie together, and she's like, oh, Caitlin finally made it to the Instagram. So it was so funny. It's just so funny, but that's where they're at.
So communication is key. I know one of the things that I was able to pull from this year. So, obviously I jumped off, from a space where I was a principal and an AP, just kind of a dual role. And we tried to build systems and structures, but a lot of times I was carrying a lot of that work, despite the best efforts of my team members. And so what I really learned this year was distributed leadership is absolutely important and crucial, but it doesn't just happen. that we need to be intentional and make sure that we are building the systems and structures that allow for distributive leadership to occur. And so in this new role, we have exactly that. And it is impressive to me about how much less stress, how much less weight one carries when those responsibilities are truly distributed amongst many individuals. And so that has been a huge aha moment for me, that we can't just talk about, you know, these concepts, right? In education, there's a lot of buzzwords that we like to throw out and these ideas, but we really have to be intentional about how do we make sure that those things can actually be present in our buildings, in our spaces, because otherwise they're just that, they're ideas and concepts, but then we trudge through the day and we're grinding and we're wondering why we are so burnt out. So that has been my biggest aha, is that we have to be intentional about making sure that we could actually fulfill those things that we're talking about.
That's awesome. And we actually got a comment from John. Hey, John, thanks for being with us again today. He says that he's been more intentional with his calendar, the things that he does, and he's really holding himself accountable. And that is a big because there's so many things that we are responsible for that we have to do. Rebecca, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this question. What are your biggest ahas so far this year?
Well, I guess it kind of relates to what Jeff and Charles have said there. You know, for me, it's not so much of an aha moment, but a reminder, and a really welcome reminder of what my core beliefs as an educator were, actually, because I really believe that the community was something that was a casualty of the pandemic. We focused on educating our children. We went into fight or flight mode in a way, and we made sure that the lessons continued. But what it gave to me was that a successful school needs a cohesive, a proactive, and a positive community to really thrive. And so the reminder I've had is that it's a hugely important part of my school. And as a team, therefore, we've worked really hard this term to create authentic opportunities, I guess, for parents and families to engage with the school. So sure, we've had mixers and we've had fun events and performances, but we've really taken the opportunity to think about, what did the parents get when we were online through the pandemic? How did we engage with them before? And how can we make that engagement the most purposeful? And so we've launched what we call Parent Ed at my school, where we are planning and giving workshops to parents that really look like teacher CPD. So very similar to teacher training, we've invited parents in for maths workshops on how to use manipulatives to teach maths. We've led phonics workshops where we've taught parents how to teach phonics. And we've had over 100 participants at some of these, which, before the pandemic, we were maybe seeing 20, 25 coming in for a forum or a coffee morning. And now we're really looking at engaging those parents in that really purposeful way. And I think when I reflect on what is the impact of these sessions, and they've not just been academic, we've done one on teaching parents strategies for managing anxiety in their child, doing wellbeing workshops, is that we're having a much stronger and much more positive engagement with parents between the homeschool partnership, but also the relationship and the engagement between families and their child, and how they can really effectively support them in their learning, is having an impact in our classrooms. And so, as I say, it's more of a reminder for me that there's more going on in a school than just what happens in a classroom. And we need to remember that all stakeholders have a part to play.
It's wonderful.
That is amazing. And that is very important work. I think traditionally in our schools, we focused on parent involvement, and you use the word engagement. And I am a firm believer that involvement and engagement is two separate things. And as we endeavor to create true professional learning communities, we have to understand that in a professional learning community, everyone is learning. So the fact that you're doing that learning piece for parents is absolutely crucial. Wow, that's why I love being in this space, because I just get so inspired and motivated by the things that we hear.
I love that. if I can pipe in quick, I love that. And I think that it just reminds me that even at the high school level where too often parent engagement is really more involvement, like it's just a one-way street. It's critical to think about it. You have me thinking, like, how can we get parents more engaged? How can we have them come in for things? How can we have them? They want to be involved. I think it's just at this level I've discovered, like, they just don't know how. They want to be told what to do, and I can do that.
And how many times do you hear parents say, "How can I help my kid? How can I help my kid?"
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're doing more than just giving them a buzz, work on their phonics work. You're actually equipping them, and that's what it's all about: to empower and to equip them to be a partner in education with you. That is really amazing.
I guess it's demystifying what we're doing in the classroom, and once you can demystify it and make it transparent and clear, and box it up in a way that's palatable for everybody, then the engagement comes. The involvement starts by taking that step forward to say, I'm going to walk into the school and attend this workshop. The engagement starts when you realize you can access it along with everybody else.
Yeah, that's true. And what's the follow-up? What happens after? That's important too.
Absolutely.
So Mac, what about your takeaway?
My takeaway as I move from a traditional principal role into a coach of principals in schools is this: I've always been a systematic thinker, and my school had lots of systems where everybody knew what they were doing. When I moved roles, it was not a rough transition, but it was a anxiety-filled transition, because I am a bit of a perfectionist, and I did not have the systems in place. So I was learning this new role, and I didn't have the comfort of systems. So I've had to spend this first part of my year creating systems for everything that I'm responsible for. And so that is my biggest aha, is that the importance of systems, Every role, every classroom needs quality systems. Every school needs quality systems. And for every person inside of a building, you have to automate the things that you do. So I'm still in the process of building. I built some systems to help me in my new role. And I just really, as never before, I've always been a systems guy, but I am a systems guy more than ever now. That's the importance of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that as you said, right, your new role is so different from your previous one, and building those systems allows you that comfortability, so that way you could be more effective and efficient in that role, which I'm sure that you're already amazing. Yeah, I'm comfortable saying that. So as we wrap up question 1, we want to transition into question 2. But before we do so, as always, we like to make sure that we are connecting this back to an incredible resource. Maybe a little bias in the word incredible, but hey, we can be, because it is our book and it's our show, so we get to say this. What are the wonderful things about this resource? And the thing that we have heard from those of you who have purchased it, which, by the way, thank you so much for all of you who have supported our efforts and initiative, is that this allows you the space to pause and reflect. So often, as we're talking about in this work that we're doing, we are charging ahead, we're rushing through, we get so caught up in work. We might say at the beginning all of the wonderful things that we want to do, but work happens, school happens, life happens. So this resource allows us this time, the space to say, okay, let's pause, let's be intentional about reflecting, so that way we can move forward. So you could find this book all over on Amazon. You could reach out to us to make sure that you're getting copies. We would appreciate the continued support. And again, thank you to all of you who have supported us. And I would be remiss before jumping into question number 2, because Jeff is in the house, so we always support our guests as well.
Hey, thank
you. So becoming principal, Jeff Prickett, another great resource on leadership. So make sure that you reach out to Jeff, or you can find it as well. So let's jump in to question number 2.
Inside the Principal's Office discussion question 2. Every school year is unique, and has its own set of particular circumstances and challenges. What are some adjustments or changes you have made in your leadership style this year, and how would you reflect upon the effectiveness of those changes?
Man, this is a deep question, and I'm looking forward to hearing from each of you. I have mine, and I'm like in the back of my head, I'm like, is it controversial? Is it not? I don't know. But again, it's part of my leadership style, the new one. So, Mac, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's mix things up a little bit.
Wow. Well, now you have me intrigued. Could be controversial. What could that be? My biggest adjustment that I've made in my leadership style is, as a principal, there are times where you just have to, people want you just to tell them what to do, and you have to oblige. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to move forward. In the role of coaching schools and coaching teams, for us to reach our eventual goal, I cannot just tell people what to do, but it is very important for me to lead with inquiry, to probe them, and to give them an opportunity in space to truly reflect on their practice and then help them find the best path forward. I know the framework and what needs to happen, but every school, I work in several schools, every school community is different. So while there is a framework, it's not a one set answer. It is a how do we apply these principles in this context, in this setting. So that's the biggest adjustment for me. Is I've led with questions, but as a principal, I always ask myself, am I going to coach or consult? Am I going to coach or give directives? But now I'm solely in that coaching role. So just reflecting on that, and it would be easy just to come in and say, well, if you just do this, but it's leading those conversations and helping people find the answers and use the information.
Nice. Thank you. Rebecca?
Yeah, I guess for me, I think that I've been really focusing on emotional intelligence, actually, and really honing in on my own practice. So my own self-awareness, the impact I have on people, a bit like Jeff was saying about communication. How's my communication landing, and how's that getting through to the team? And really looking at reestablishing connection and relationships with the team, not just me with them, but the team as a whole. And I guess we're doing that intentionally to maximize productivity and performance, and I'm trying to do it in a range of ways, obviously making time to talk to everybody and understand everyone in the best way that I can, but I've also brought in weekly appreciations that we do publicly in briefings. I send written notes trying to show some intentional empathy, and provide scaffolded support for those that need it as well, and celebrate success privately with an individual, but also publicly, which I think is really important to help the team feel valued. But I guess at the same time as well, needed to be really clear, and this is a real learning for me, about both our individual and team responsibilities and the accountability of every member of staff to be performing their role to the best of their ability. And when I, look at this question and say, well, reflect on the effectiveness of that, it's led to discretionary effort. I see more and more of our team feeling valued, feeling acknowledged, and they feel seen. I hope they do. And in response, people are stepping forward to lead projects, to join working parties, to, even just running events, giving that little bit more, because they know that's appreciated. And that's been an intentional move for me. I think when we were so disparate with COVID and being apart, that to bring everybody together and help them and feel seen is really key.
Thank you. Yeah, I there's a lot in that idea of being seen, being heard, being valued, right? And then saying, okay, then I'm willing to step up and to do this work. And a lot of times we blame people, like, why aren't they doing the work? They should just be doing the work. And we don't realize the own role that sometimes we as leaders have in that, where it's like, why does it matter? Nobody cares, right? I'm just going to show up and do my job, maybe. So great point, Rebecca. Jeff, what about you?
I think it, again, it goes back to communication. And it just always does. If anything goes wrong, people say, I hear like, well, this could have been communicated better. But so for me, an adjustment that I've made is really just making sure, going again with that word intentionality, being really intentional about our communication, being really intentional about following back up with people. That's important too. That follow-up, being intentional about and crystal clear about our expectations. People join a committee. I need to be able to tell them, which I haven't always in the past, be able to tell them, here's your role on the committee. You're coming in to lend me your voice, but I make the ultimate decision. Or you're coming in to lend me not only your voices, but we're making this decision as a collective group. That always isn't crystal clear, and people get frustrated when they feel like they've walked into a committee, they've lent their voice, and then somebody makes an opposite decision on what the committee kind of decided as a whole. Well, just be really clear about what your intentions are. They don't have to like it, It's clear. Clear is kind. We've all heard that from, I think Brene Brown coined it, but clear is truly kind. Again, they don't have to like it, but so I think some minor and major adjustments is just in how we're communicating, the avenues that we're communicating. We're sharing out all of our admin notes just in full transparency so people can see what's going on, and they feel like they don't have to question things. When people have to question things, they start making up their own stories, right? So
thank you. Whenever we pull things out, like those little gems, I like to call those Mac nuggets. He has a whole book filled with them. But I really like the idea that you said, do that follow-up. How many times as leaders do we hear teachers like, well, I taught it, they should have learned it.
Sure.
Right? We said it, they should have heard it.
Yeah.
It's hard. Right? It's easy to forget the follow-up. It's easy because as the day goes, as the year goes, all of a sudden you're at the halfway point and you're like, oh, I never did this. Yeah. It's easy to do.
Well, thank you. So
I love the points you made on clarity, because clarity truly comes before competence. Our people will never become truly competent if they're not clear on every aspect of our learning community. That's a good gem.
It is. I have that posted in my office under Macisms. So the one thing I want to take away, and this may sound a little cliche, like, one of those, like inspirational posters that you see in the doctor's office. But, as leaders, like we walk around and we carry so much weight, right? Just from our own lives, from our own work, things like that. And what I've really learned is that many of the times the experiences that we have with someone is not necessarily a reflection of us. It is a reflection of who they are and what they're going through and what they're dealing with. And I know I've often said, right, we keep in mind the Q-tip, right? Quit taking it personally. And I would tell my teachers and staff that we as leaders also have to do that. And I think it's very difficult when we see ourselves as being emotionally intelligent leaders, that we're trying to make sure that our people are okay, that we oftentimes, in an effort to do that, we take that on ourselves, and then we walk around with it, and we take it, and then we wonder why we are not the best versions of ourselves. And so I started to realize that I've started to lean more into that more often than not, when somebody's having a bad day, when they're lashing out at you, more often that it isn't about you, right? You can unpack and uncover to figure out what it is that they're dealing with, but knowing like that's not a you thing. So I used to do that, right? I would carry it around. What did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? How could I have, right? But when I started realizing like, oh, you're dealing with this, like, let us help you deal with that. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you, but that's not a me thing. And it has changed so much that I'm able to go throughout the day, go throughout my, building, and not to have to like carry on additional loads and stress and worries. Because again, if I can't be the best version of myself, I can't be there for others that I am appointed with serving. So that's my takeaway. And I only say that it may sound a little controversial is because it may come off as uncaring, unkind. And that's absolutely not what we're talking about. But as we're talking about self-care. Like self-care is not selfish, and we have to be very cognizant about not adding on to ourselves. There's this idea of like toxic positivity, right? This idea, like we always give these great messages, but we don't always take into consideration the potential negatives that come with them. So that's mine to you, that it is okay not to carry those burdens of someone else on you, because they're not your burdens to carry. You can help them figure it out, help them solve that, but you are not required to carry their burdens. My PSA for the day.
So true. So true.
That's good stuff. That's why I love being here. I always get inspired early on a Saturday morning. We're going to move into the favorite part of the show for me, because it is that time when we take all this conversation and we whittle it down to how can I do life different? How can I do my job different? So what is one goal you hope to focus on during the second half of this school year? And for me, I'll go first today. I think I'm up first today. My idea that stick is a t-shirt. Systems, reflect, adjust, repeat. Create systems, reflect on your practice, reflect on their effectiveness, adjust when needed, and then repeat that process. That if we truly believe in continuous improvement, we must be continuously improving. So that's my goal for the remainder of the year, is to continue to create systems, to reflect, adjust, and repeat. And again, I state that it's impossible to improve. It's impossible to improve your school or anything without that very important part of reflecting. We have to be very, very reflective. Rebecca, share, what would you say is your idea that stick that we should all consider?
Well, I think it links to both of the points that I've raised this morning with community, but also about focusing in on team. And so my idea that sticks is to embed a culture of self-efficacy across the school, so that through recognizing and appreciating the work that's going on, but also remembering that the past 2 years have knocked the confidence in some people. Also, we have to readjust our expectations, as Jeff was saying at the beginning, and remember that we've got to go back to teaching as it used to be. We've got things to do. So I think that encouraging that self-confidence and self-efficacy across the school is going to be key for me for the rest of the year, and hopefully we'll achieve some great outcomes.
Thank you. And we're going to just continue around the horn. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, that's great, both of you so far. And both of yours has a lot to do, I think, with mine as well. And as it relates to our core values and just being really intentional about what our core values on, focus on. Again, I keep saying that word, intention, and communicating those out. And in every single Sunday evening newsletter that I send to my staff, our 4 core values are in them, and we keep going back to them and keep them in front of everybody. Meaningful learning, courageous character, health and wellness, and service to others. Those are our 4 core values, and we have to be intentional about them, and we have to keep questioning, like, how do we see these in action? And repeat that all the time, like you said, Mac, and embed that culture. Even though, Rebecca, you're talking about self-efficacy, I mean, embed that into the culture. Constantly talk about how that's showing up every single day. When we say we value meaningful learning, well, how does that look? What does that look like? Courageous character, what does that look like in the hallways, in the cafeteria, on the basketball court, on the football field? Are we showing up every day? And if not, then how are we, intentionally having those conversations with people about, how we can help them improve? So that's what those are for me, our 4 core values.
Thank you. So I'll close this out before turning it back over to Mac here. The first half of this year, I really launched into a new role, and I was reflecting and trying to figure out what was going on, what was happening. And now, and very similar to Mac, this is why we work so well together. I'm talking about systems and structures. This idea that we need to make sure that our schools are being effective as possible through systems and structures. Going back to, like Jeff mentioned, a lot of times we are not necessarily clear in our communications. And so how do we make sure that people are operating in a very similar way, right? We can't just say, here's an objective, go and figure it out. But if we have those systems and structures in place, we can ensure that we are moving towards our objective in the most efficient and effective way possible. And of course, there's times, there's opportunities to adjust, to reflect those systems and structures, but it helps us, again, that framework, as we are moving forward. So just a great opportunity to learn and grow from each of you. And really looking forward to taking those lessons into the second half of our school year.
Yeah, I have been inspired by both of you today. Dr. Prickett, how can we get your book if we want to purchase? Is it on Amazon?
Oh yeah. That's where you go. I appreciate that. Becoming Principal Leadership Journey. It's on Amazon. I'm 5 episodes into a new podcast. It's called Becoming Principal, the podcast, and where I hear leaders' stories and even some people who are not principals. Like, what is your story of becoming? Like, how did you get there? So thank you for mentioning that though. But yes, Amazon.
Excellent. And Rebecca, thank you so much. You've given us some gems today with and really given us an opportunity to reflect on truly engaging parents as partners in education. It's always great to be with all of you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Charles, it's always a pleasure to be in this space and share this space with you. If you're watching, we want you to like and share, or love and share this broadcast with others. Tell people about this space that we are creating. Follow us on Twitter at Inside Principal. Facebook, we have a Facebook group where this conversation and dialogue does not have to stop today. You have access to other leaders that are part of that group, and you can throw out questions. We can communicate in between shows. We are really trying to create a safe place for leaders to learn and to grow from each other. And Charles, what closing words of wisdom do you have for us today?
I don't know so much if they are words of wisdom, but I do want to just say, first of all, thank you to our guests. Thank you to all of you who have been here and supported our show throughout this year and last year. John, you are a constant presence, so thank you.
Yes.
And all of the other guests who have been joining us, thank you so much for your continued support. We would be remiss not to say thank you to Wallace, the man behind the magic. So a big shout out to you, Wallace, and for all the work that you're doing, because while you may be here having this impressive conversation, the reality is that he is able to pull this all together. So big thank you to you and to SchoolRubric.
Pulling the string.
Absolutely. And so with that being said, we just want to wish all of you a great rest of your year. We will be back in January. We're only doing one show here in December before the holidays. So enjoy the time with your family, your friends, one another. Take some time to yourself to learn and grow, whether it is through this amazing book to do some reflection, or of course, we've already promoted Jeff's book as well. But definitely take some time and then rejoin us in January as we continue these conversations, because as we know, our work never ends. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your year, and we'll see you in January.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching and learning with us at SchoolRubric with educators from across the globe. For more access to articles, magazines, podcasts, live episodes, our international school directory, courses, and more, visit us at schoolrubric.org. Thank you.